What's good, YouTube? And welcome to the house. I think this right here is exactly what they should have started doing instead of trying to errata cards into the ground to bring them back off the ban list, especially if they plan to make traditional format a thing for side events such as Attack of the Giant Forbidden card. So we'll talk more about why I feel that way in a bit and why I'm fine with Chaos Emperor being banned as long as it stays broken. But this card actually breaks a little bit of a mechanic as well by special summoning itself out of the extra deck without Pendulum summoning. So it's kind of cool, but at the same time they did check that as well at the same time. Kaiba's one-shot End of All Things returns as a Pendulum monster, a scale 1 at that, so a really good scale with a high level. This is Chaos Emperor, the Armageddon Dragon. We've got a level 8 Dark Dragon, special summon Pendulum effect monster, attack 3000, defense 2500. Remember those stats. Pendulum scale 1, its effect is you can only use the Pendulum effect with this card's name once per turn, so you can't like scale use. You can pay 1,000 life points, then target one of your banished dragon monsters. Destroy this card, and if you do, add that monster to your hand. So it's a free resource by putting itself in the extra deck, but at the cost of itself. Well, it's not really going to lose you too much advantage there. Cannot be normal summon / set. Must be special summoned from your hand or face up extra deck by banishing a light and dark monster from your graveyard. So yes, it will pop in the extra monster zone if you use its effect to summon it, but it's really cool that they kind of like looked at it and gave it a way to break out of the extra deck without even having to Pendulum summon, meaning you can place it in decks that don't want to play other Pendulum scales to get it out. So its first effect goes hand in hand with the second effect, breaking the mechanic from the extra deck, face up extra deck, special summon myself, but at the same time they make sure that they check and balance that. You can only special summon Chaos Emperor, the Armageddon Dragon, once per turn this way. First effect, once per turn, you can pay half of your life points, not just a little amount, half, and send as many cards as possible from your field to the graveyard, except cards in the extra monster zones. And if you do, send to the graveyard cards from your opponent's field up to the number of cards in the graveyard sent there from your field, then inflict damage to your opponent equal to the number of cards sent to the graveyard times 300. Second effect is how it really gets limited. Place this face-up special summon card on the bottom of the deck if it leaves the field. So they made sure that you're not just going to special summon it from the X or use it as link material, special summon it back. They made sure it's hard to get to the graveyard, checking cards like Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. I think overall they balanced it very well. They also stopped it from being able to summon itself from the graveyard in case you were to like use it as a trade-in target since it is level 8. But the levels, the attribute, and the type, they're all pretty good because Dark, you can banish it for a lure, and then you actually don't restrict it from getting itself with its own Pendulum scale. So its Pendulum scale can get it with free advantage, which is kind of funny. And if you're actually playing a Pendulum deck, you could then try to Pendulum summon it out later. But remember that stat line I was talking about. They didn't bother to make it unsearchable by Melody. The Madmen. They actually made it fit in very well with Blue Eyes. You naturally have darks in your extra deck with Galaxy. Well, we'll just get it there with the Market Watch layout. Galaxy Eyes Dark Matter Dragon fits right in with it. That's somewhat interesting, isn't it? That you have a dark accessible in your extra deck. And tell me if there's more darks that maybe that work easier with Spirit. Like maybe there's something you could just pop out after you synchro that's a dark dragon. But I definitely think there's just natural tools to be able to summon him. And at the same time, I really I like this. So let's talk about erratas. I'm not the biggest fan, and I've made that vocal, but at times there have been ones that have been done really well that keep the original power of the card while checking and balancing it. Like, everyone really freaked out when Imperial Order came back, and yes, it had impacts here and there. There would be Zodiac decks that played it, but and of course True Draco, since you can tribute it as a continuous spell and trap, it really didn't impact like we thought it would. Yes, it can still win and steal a game even today, and maybe as Brandish Maidens / Sky Strikers become a thing, we'll see it also kind of come to the forefront. But just the real impact of how it locks down yourself as well as your opponent in today's game, and how spell reliant a lot of decks are, it really has shown that it's not as busted as it used to be, and a lot of people end up locking themselves down and like paying life points till they're out of life points with it. It really is a weird and unique thing to say Imperial Order didn't break the game coming back, but that's how I feel errata should be. Really true to the original card, if they do an errata at all. This commander is a shell of its former self, and when we discuss ban cards, this is what I like to see, a retrain, and it's something they had kind of stayed away from, and it seems like they finally listened to the community on. It's like, please don't change our old cards. Please don't make them not what they used to be. Do something like this. And I'm pretty proud that they've listened. We also have, what is it, a Fusion Trishula on the way, a Synchro Judgment Dragon on the way. So, like, Trishula, you know, it's been so powerful. It's hit the FNL list. JD, the Synchro monster that we all love. And I believe a Dark Armed Xyz on the way as well. So I look forward to seeing how they do those, because Dark Arm exists in today's game, fine and dandy. JD exists in today's game, fine and dandy. But the TCG has kept this away, and of course the OCG errata to even bring it back. I think the creator of the game said something like they want to bring every single card back at least once. So I can see why they would have to errata cards to do that. But I truly do like even game-breaking cards to at least stay somewhat true to themselves. And, you know, they'll have to heavily change it, like Painful Choice. It's just not healthy for the game. You can't have that be what it once was and bring it back. So if the creator really does want to bring back every single one, then there has to be erratas. It's a check and balance. But I much prefer, instead of erratas, retrains like this. This is exactly how to do it. Amazing art, amazing concept, bring it into the new age with a new mechanic, not from its time. This is what I want, and this is what a lot of people from the comment section want. But tell me what you feel and think about this specific card. Do you think it's cool that it breaks a mechanic but then checks and balances itself? It's like, yo, I'm coming out of the extra deck myself, which other cards have done, but it's still breaking the mechanic of you're supposed to Pendulum summon these cards. That was kind of the point of these cards, so it does break on out. And at the same time, it's not the most busted card. Its advantage is based off of killing your own cards to kill your opponent's cards, besides the free special summon body that ends up in your extra monster zone as an 8, which is still really good depending, because rank 8 overlays are a thing, and then you would get it to the graveyard by detaching it as an Xyz material, because it won't be a face-up special summon card on the field anymore. And then maybe there's some Starving Venom Fusion Dragon shenanigans. I don't think it's the biggest deal even if you did copy it, because you have to work with so much advantage to do the field clearing, although that's massive damage after you take care of a lot of their cards. I think there's definitely ways to break this. I think there has to be, but at the same time, for now, I'm just happy with my mans looking like this. Chaos Emperor Dragon. It's been a long time, and I'm just happy, guys. But again, I want to hear your thoughts. I know I've rambled on. I want to know your thoughts on if you like retrains like this, and how they're going to fit in the game. Do you think this is actually way more busted than people are giving it credit for? Like, some people are like, meh. Other people are just, their gears are turning and they're finding out, like, and thinking of crazy things. It's got the right attribute for Allure. It's got the right level for trading. It's got so much going for it. And then, of course, there's cards that abuse graveyard cards like this. It is pretty interesting overall. Must be special summoned by banishing. It's definitely got interesting clauses, interesting ways to like check and balance itself, and I think Konami did a really great job. I have to, like, for me, I'm very happy with this. And also, for people asking, Yu-Gi-Oh! Single pre-sales go live 4/29 for Flood on Yu-Gi-Oh! Singles. They're always market defining, and you got a 5% code from your boy and Robbie Cole. So please use that if you're going to shop at Yu-Gi-Oh! Singles during pre-sales. Thanks for watching, guys.